feedback is on a bit of a continuum, certainly between me and Keegan. So I'm on the side of that which does not kill us serves to make us stronger. I'm a bit terrified of the word feedback. When it comes to Keegan, he says feedback is the breakfast of champions. So it's probably worth reflecting on where you sit on this continuum. And that might give you an idea as to how it impacts how you go around and talk about it. So have a think about that as we go on to the next slide.
So one of the things that I'm fond of saying to people when I'm working with them around how to develop a feedback culture in their teams is that feedback has a brand problem. And when I think about that, there's one particular story that jumps to mind based on my own experience. I was staying at a hotel in Melbourne a few years ago for work, and I said to the person behind the desk, "Hey, you look like you're in charge. Can I give you some feedback?" And at that point, she came from behind the desk and she sort of assumed this kind of a position. You know how martial artists are trained to take punches and to take a hit to the gut? She kind of assumed this position. She put her hands behind her back and I could almost feel her tensing up. At that point, I said, "Oh, look, by the time I arrived here in my taxi late on the first evening, by the time I had paid for the cab, someone had got my luggage out of the boot. And by the time that I got to reception, someone already had my keys ready and you guys had just anticipated all my needs, and I rattled off a whole bunch of other things that I was really impressed by throughout my stay." And you could almost see this relief from her that in her mind, feedback was what you tell someone when they've done something wrong about how bad a job they have done. And it taught me a lesson as well, because I sit on this continuum where feedback's great and I welcome and I'm open to feedback. I can assume that other people have that, and it's quite often not the case. And I've used little tricks like, instead of saying feedback and using the word feedback, say, "Hey, can I share some of the things I think you did really well? Can I tell you what I've noticed? Do you mind if I share what I saw here? I think this might help." It's all the same thing in my mind, but it's a different, it changes the way it was received. And so this brand problem is something that's prevalent. A lot of people do experience this. They have this sense. And so what we do is when we say, "Can I give you some feedback?" people jump into a defensive position in their mind, and defensiveness kills the effectiveness of feedback. It just doesn't end up making a difference, because people are trying to figure out or justify why the behaviors happened rather than being open to thinking about how they might be able to improve as a result of the feedback.
In order for us today to have a shared understanding of what we mean when we say feedback, we thought we'd propose a definition, which is this: feedback is information that helps improve performance.
And that may or may not be similar to your definition, but if this is the definition that you are using, what we've noticed is that it shifts both the way that you give and receive feedback. So when I'm giving feedback and I'm thinking, well, it needs to be information that helps improve the other person's performance, I need to deliver it in a way that's not just about me being right, but it's also about it being useful for the other person, acknowledging that it's possible to be technically correct and useless. And it also impacts the way that I receive feedback. So I can get feedback from a lot of different information, a lot of different sources, not just formal critique processes, not just formal reviews, but I can get it from lots of people at lots of time. And my job when I'm receiving it is to try and identify the information that is going to help me improve my performance.